From Dear Portugal to Dubai, this is how I keep track of my spending in Portugal. Let's check it out.
A's good, A's good, A's good, A's good. Wicked. It's Portuguese good.
Right, before we get started, I noticed that about 50% of you who watch my videos still haven't gotten around to subscribing. It costs you nothing to subscribe, and it really, really helps me out. So please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go and hit it, and if you don't...
That's ignorant.
All right, let's check it out. Okay, so lovely, lovely rainy afternoon. What's the date today? It's, what's the date today? Can you grab the box for us, Christian? There we go. So maybe just grab a seat here. So yeah, so it's the 2nd of March, and normally on the 1st or 2nd of March we do a tally up from the previous month to see how our spending is going. And this is an exercise that we do every single month, okay? Now a lot of you are already going to know how to do a budget, and if you do and it's something that you're very comfortable with, this video is not for you. But what happened is I did a video a few weeks ago about my budget in Portugal. Just one moment while I was sipping coffee. And there were quite a few comments asking me how I keep track of my spending and that kind of thing. And a lot of you may think, well, people should really know this, but for those of you who are my age will remember that probably just like me, when you were young, you had a job. So I think when I was about 14, I used to catch the bus into town and sell newspapers. And then when I was 15 and 16, I worked at a Burger King. So I had that experience of earning money and having to save the money and also having to use that money. For example, my mum wouldn't give me money for the bus fare. I had to save enough money from my work to be able to make my own way to work. So I learned how to budget and how to control my spending at an early age. Now, that's not to say that I've always been good at that. I've had my moments where I've overspent, just like all people, but I know how to do it. And there are some words that my mum, who before becoming a school teacher, she was an accountant, but some of the words of wisdom she used to say to me still ring out in my ear, which is multiply it by 30, you know. So if you go to Starbucks and have a coffee every day and that costs you €3, multiply that by 30. So that's €90 you're spending. So that's, you know, €1,000 a year you're dropping just on coffee, isn't it? So these are the kind of things that my mum taught me to think about. And one of the things she got me into the habit of doing was keeping my receipts, okay? So we keep, we've just got this box. I think it's an old ice cream box. And these are our receipts from a month, from the previous month. And there's only ever receipts from that month in there. Once the month finishes, once these are counted up, I put a rubber band around them and put them away, and we keep them in another box. We'll keep them for a few years, okay? And also any receipts that need to be specifically kept, like they're for warranties and things like that, I've got another place where I store them. But generally speaking, it's March now, so the receipts in this box are all from February, okay? Not before, not after. That's how we do it. That's how we keep it under control. Okay, so all we're going to do now, I won't bore you watching us count, but we're going to count up everything in here and then divide it into different categories. And I'll show you how that works when we've finished doing the counting. So I'll catch you guys in a bit. Yeah, okay.
17 supermarket.
What?
17 supermarket.
17 supermarket, okay.
Mayo.
Mayo?
Mayo.
Mail, okay.
38.
38. Well, that was the package from Hong Kong. Yeah. Okay, so where we're at now, we've written all of the amounts from the receipts in categories. One thing to look out for is doubles. So quite often when they give you receipts, they'll give you a big one and a small one, okay? So make sure you're not doubling up. So we've got a little pile over here of doubles. And then all I do is just tally it up. So we've categorized them as supermarket, car, eating out, the post office, human meds, pets, that includes their food and their meds. Building and farm supplies are kind of the same thing in a way for our purposes. Okay, so I'm just going to tally those things up, and then I'll get back to you when I've tallied up, and I'll tell you what those totals are. All right. Okay, so we've done the adding up, and the total supermarket spend came to €636, which isn't too bad. We actually budget around 600 for that. And that's something we've reduced down from around 900 to 1,000 in the last year. Okay, and a lot of that's been to do with reducing eating meat. Okay, so there you go. If you need another incentive to become vegetarian, it can save you a couple of €100 per month, believe it or not. On the car and the motorcycle, and this is consumable, so we're not talking about insurance and tax and things like that, which I'll come back to in a moment. We spent 229 in total, so that includes petrol and diesel for the car and the motorcycle, and I think I also bought some injector cleaner for the car. Okay, so that was a total of 229. We haven't really done that many long trips this month, so that's a little bit over budget, honestly speaking. And if I'm being honest, that's can have a lot to do with driving style as well. And I've spoken about this in a previous video, is you make the choice every time you get in the car, how you want to drive. If you drive, drive around with a lead foot, you're going to spend more money. Simple as that. So this is something that I'll think about in March, because this is a bit over budget. Eating out, 128. So in this we include all eating out and like going out and having a coffee or just even buying a soda in like a corner shop or something. We always keep the receipt and it always goes on here. So that's come to about 128. I think that's probably about reasonable, for us. I think, again, when we first came to Portugal, we were spending sometimes over €500 just sitting in cafes. So that's something we've really, really slowed down on. And again, keeping your eye on it each month helps you keep your eye on the ball. The post office, we spent 44 this month, but one of those was a larger expense than normal. We had a box sent over from Hong Kong. My wife is over in Hong Kong just at the moment. She sent us a box of goodies. The goodies were worth about €50, and Portugal charged us €38 to get them out of customs. And that just is what it is. It is what it is. Over here, I've got medication. I've got €31. Most of that is me. And I think my son had to have some medication this month as well, my younger son. And then here I've got the pets. Their expenses were €86 this month, and that includes, they eat quite a lot of human food. This kind of includes like their biscuits and their pate. 86 per month seems kind of reasonable. Like in my head, I kind of normally have like 100 a month for the dogs. Then I've got building materials, 177, and for the farm, 71. These are a little bit more difficult to budget for, because sometimes in winter, I would say in December, the expenses were zero for building and farm. But in the summer, they can really go up. And this is something else that I just want to talk to you guys about as well, is sometimes I hear people, they get put off making a budget because they feel like it's going to be too difficult for them to estimate their expenses. And what I say is the beautiful thing about estimating your expenses is either way, you're either going to get a pleasant surprise. You might say, oh, I think I spend 300 a month on eating out, and then it comes in at 200. That's a pleasant surprise. You've now got an extra €100 to play with. On the other hand, if you get your receipts and it comes in at like 500, then you've got to do something about it. And you might have been coming up short every month. You might have been finding there's more month than money, or whatever, as my mum used to say, more month than money. And that might be why. You might think, right, well, I know where I can spend less. I can stop going to Starbucks, or I can make a choice to walk to the local cafe instead of drive, or I can, there's choices that you can make, right, to rein that in. And the other thing you need to think about, so I'll put a link in the description to the video I did on my monthly budget, and you'll see how I do it there in a spreadsheet. So at the beginning of the month, I also allocate. So later on, I'll check this onto my spreadsheet, and I'll make any adjustments that I need, although I think we're pretty reasonably within our budget expectations here. So I probably won't change the spreadsheet that much going forward. But I also factor in on my spreadsheet yearly bills. So for example, I know in June the car insurance comes up, and then in July the motorcycle insurance comes up. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what that is. But let's say if the car insurance was, let's say it's €240 per year, I put away €20 per month. to cover that, because you don't want that shock in summer. And then also, where does your income come from? If you're like me and you're sort of a little bit self-employed and we're also living off savings, I've been doing this for long enough for my income to be fairly predictable, but even sometimes we have some surprises, don't we? So for example, last year we had a lot of students who are at international school and in Hong Kong, and they more or less all decided to take time off at the same time, didn't they? We hadn't really predicted that, but apparently it was because of COVID, and everyone was so desperate to get away. So more or less at the same time, bang, like 2/3 of our students went on holiday. And but we had the reserves to get through the time, you know. So that's where I also talked to you guys about savings, needing to budget for some savings, and but also thinking about your income, you know. So if you're on a salary, it's not a problem. You know how much is coming each month. If you're self-employed over a long period of time, you're going to know roughly what's coming in and out. And the other thing I always say when it comes to making these predictions, what you want to do is you want to round down income, round down projected income, and round up projected outgoings. Okay. So, for example, when I'm doing these receipts and Christian's helping me count, I always say to him, if it says 280, just say 3. Anything over, 230, 240, just say 3 to me, for example. But when it comes to income, so like if I think, if I think my income from students this month is going to be €3,000, in my head, I knock 20% off that straight away. Okay. And this is what you want to be doing. This is what you want to be doing. So you want to overestimate your outgoings and underestimate your income. Okay. And that's how I do it. It's that simple. We have this box. That's it. And now we can just put these all together, Christian, and just whack a rubber band around them. I'll find a rubber band in a minute, just whack them all together for now. And then I've already got some of my euros are already busily turning into paper inside my wallet. So this month, and they will start going in the box now, and we will do the same next month. As you can see, the whole process, I mean, I did stop the video a few times, but honestly speaking, the whole process taken 15 minutes. Yeah. Later on, I'll update the spreadsheet. You've already seen the spreadsheet in the other video. I'm not going to make any changes to it because we were pretty much on budget every month. And listen, you have to do this, okay? I do feel bad. I know that young people, I've got lots of students who are young people. They're not really taught budgeting in school. Have you been taught how to budget in school? Yeah, I mean, it's something, I can't remember precisely why I know how to budget, but I feel like I was taught in school. I feel like it was something that was taught to us in school. And I remember it being like before spreadsheets. I remember knowing how to do it on a piece of paper, and I know this idea of keeping your receipts and that sort of thing. So I think young people aren't really taught that. Also, young people don't seem to have jobs anymore like we did. So I can see from my analytics that most of my viewers are around sort of my age, in that kind of 40 to 60 group. And I can't speak for all of us, but I seem to remember when I was a kid, everyone, as I say, my first job was selling newspapers, and then I remember working in Burger King. Then when I got a bit older, I did like waiting tables and bar work and that kind of thing. So I've always worked, even if it's only been part-time. I've always had the experience of earning money, needing to save some money to be able to earn more money. So this concept of, not just thinking, well, here's all my money, I can just spend it. I've worked to save up to travel around the world. I've had some big saving experiences. And I think a lot of young people just don't have that anymore. So, the people who asked for this kind of information, don't be embarrassed about it. You got to make a start somewhere. And I think the biggest step is asking for help. So this is the main thing, keeping your receipts, keeping track of it. Use a spreadsheet or even a piece of paper to try and make predictions at the beginning of the month of what your income and expenditure is going to be, and then testing it against your real outgoings and your real income at the end of the month, okay? That's all you can do. So obviously, my next step will be, one moment. So my next step is the phone. And now I start looking at I look through my accounts. I've got several bank accounts that have different purposes, but some of them have got like direct debits and things. So for example, for my teaching, I have direct debits to Kahoot and WordWall and Spellzone and a few sort of apps that I use with my students. And so what I do is I go through my accounts and I check that they've all gone out. And then obviously I've got the other expenses, the monthly expenses like Mayo for my broadband, the water, the electricity. So I go through and tally all those up as well. And this is also something else you need to do as a discipline, okay? At least once a month. I actually check my accounts more than that, but at least once a month I go through and check that my direct debits have gone out and that I agree with the amounts, okay? Because I have had some experiences where either they haven't gone out for whatever reason, or they've like double dipped or something like that, and that's been in Portugal as well as in other countries. So you're best to get onto that right away. And if you follow my channel, you'll know that a couple of months ago, I checked my account one morning and noticed that I'd been defrauded. Someone had booked some hotels in Indonesia or Malaysia, I think it was, using my card. As it goes, I was able to get onto it really quickly, and within a week I had the money back into my account with not too many problems. So this is what you want to be checking. And then the way, depending on how you get paid, you should be able to check that through your bank accounts as well. You know, if you're getting paid cash in hand or whatever, that's another story, but I'm not gonna talk about that. I invoice using my bank account, so I have a nice trail of my income. So at the end of the month, I can look at my bank account, so I can see the income. I can see who has or hasn't paid, and it becomes very easy for me to track my income. So this is what you also need to be doing: is you need to be using the resources that your banks give you to be able to keep track of your ins and outs. So even though it's online, my bank accounts are online, there are still virtual statements where they give you a very quick total expenditure and total income. And so yeah, I am very aware at the end of the month how much income I've had, and then I know on the spreadsheet what I project the income will be. So it's very easy for me to check that. So this is something that you really need to be doing a minimum of once a month. For you guys in Portugal, another thing you need to be doing, right, which is almost a little bit of a tangent, but thinking again about things like that are more annual fees, like your road tax for your vehicles and your, I forget the name of it, but in England we call it council tax, the housing tax. But they're not huge amounts, but you still need to think about them. So you want to be going onto the finances website. In my opinion, a lot of Portuguese people say do it once a week. You know, I probably don't do it once a week. I probably do it like once a month around this time. I'll probably go later today and just check if there's any outstanding fees. As it goes, I've set direct debits up. There's such small amounts here. I've just set up direct debits, so I don't really need to think about them. But it's something else to check as well. Check your finances website. So one thing, I've never had it happen to me, but I've heard anecdotally that if you're late with payments in Portugal, the fees can really add up and become quite astronomical amounts. So you really need to keep your eye on the ball with regard to finances. Yeah. So yeah, basically projecting. Yeah, and I want to say, when you first start doing this budget, there's probably going to be a good few months where you're getting the numbers wrong and things aren't making sense. But after a few months, let's say 6 months, it'll start to really settle in. You'll have a really solid idea of how much you're spending each month. You know, you'll have a solid idea of how much you feel like you can really afford on different areas of your budget, whether that be eating out or like the car or you know, even the supermarket. You know, you'll start thinking, right, well, do I really need you know, that luxury item, whatever it is, you know, like maybe I can do with the home brand, or maybe I can this kind of thing. So yeah, this is how we do our monthly budget, as it were, income and expenditure. Yeah. All right, I think I'm going to wrap the video up here. If you're new around here and you enjoy this type of content, please consider subscribing. It really, really helps me out. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Muito obrigado, amigos. Ciao.